Hi, it's a snowy day, a cozy evening, and we thought we'd do a little video this week.
Yeah, nice time of night for it.
Peter and me. Peter, my husband, in case you haven't met him yet. We did have some questions from people, and we'd love it if you'd send some in for these videos, but I am waiting for an answer on one of them, so I thought I'd change topics this week. I've just read a book called, it's in French, but it's called Mistress of Cérémonies, about by a woman called Françoise Dumas, who was literally the mistress of ceremonies. And her career, her 50-year career, was absolutely fascinating, doing parties and weddings and state banquets for royalty and aristocrats and government in Paris. So, as someone put it, you may not know Françoise Dumas, but she knows everyone. Anyway, it's sort of, she gives some things about the rules that she had to follow, protocol and etiquette and stuff, but mostly it's a story about her experiences. Anyway, I took some notes because she made some points that I thought were kind of worth picking up on. Ready?
Allons-y.
Okay, I've had
That's
to translate.
French for let's go.
That's right. Okay, so here's, early on, she's talking about working in the early days, like in the 50s and 60s, and she said, without mobile phones, everything was slower, but we had stronger ties thanks to business lunches. I wonder if it really is slower now, or if it's just as quick or if it was just as quick back then because of those close ties. You could just make a call. You didn't have to do all this extra
I don't know. I mean, the business lunch is gone. It disappeared in my short lifetime. 10, 15 years ago, they were a regular part of my life in journalism as an editor, and it's just gone. It just doesn't happen anymore. No one does it. And so I don't know. And if I want to reach someone, I just email them or I text them.
Do they respond?
If they want to talk to me, they do. And if they don't, they don't. And I guess that would be the same in the old days. If you had lunch with someone and you made contact with them. And
it's harder to ignore someone if you've had lunch with them.
Probably.
If you've never met them and someone writes to you, you sort of think, oh,
if that's her point, it's a really good point. If you've actually met someone and had lunch with them, it's harder for them to ignore you.
Yeah. I still think for business.
If you've not been rude or
obviously
gross.
But I think the power of meeting in person and making some kind of bond around a table actually is speedier than...
It's entirely possible in this world to only know someone through Zoom call or email and have what you might consider a relationship with them, but it's not a relationship.
Thoughts in the comments?
It's not the same.
Here's another point she made. She was talking about, I like this one. She was talking about, of course, they have to set tables with absolute precision and they have to have invitations with every detail correct, et cetera, and all these things. She said, speaking about the table settings in particulars and which way the fork tines go, she said, it may seem like a detail, but it's a revelatory sign of the quality of the reception overall. And that reminds me, I used to know someone who would judge restaurants by the bread.
That's a good basis. We went out last night for a drink, if you remember. It was just one drink, so you do. And you ordered this drink in a tall glass, and the ice cube in it was one long rectangular, it ran the length of the glass. It was brilliantly done.
Like a crystal, and
it was
perfectly clear.
It was a completely unnecessary thing, but it told you how good the cocktail was, which was very good, and all the other cocktails and the quality of everything that went along with it was all there in this perfect little long rectangle of ice. I mean, it was really stunning to see, and it said everything about it. And I think that's very true. But if the bread is good, that's a good start. If the
bread is because it lands on the table first. So if you get a thing of dried, sliced up baguette that you know has been sitting around for 2 days, what's the rest of the food going to be like? It's true that detail tells you a lot.
It does. It tells you a lot.
Yeah.
Little details. Yeah.
Really interesting. Here is one after my heart. She was talking about the subject of playing music at the table. She said discussions are essential to dinner. Playing music the whole way through comes down to affirming that they're of no importance.
Well,
if discussions are the priority and connecting is the priority of a dinner.
It's a good point. It makes you wonder what the point of going to some restaurants is. What is the point of going to the restaurants if the whole time the music is so loud you can't have a conversation?
Snow removal has just
sorry.
arrived. Big scraping at the door. And then a final thing, just so we don't go on through the whole book, but she was talking about invitations. She said, an invitation is a serious affair. It has the value of a contract. What do you think?
Well, I agree with that. If someone invites you to lunch or dinner,
and you say yes,
you're bound, except in the most extreme circumstances, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have to, and if you're not sure the thing is still on, if you have any doubt about whether you need to reconfirm, it's on you to reconfirm. It's not on...
Remember that time?
We do have an occasion.
Someone who shall remain nameless was invited to dinner, accepted, and didn't show up. So we had this empty space at the table, and the next day when I said, and it was people who didn't know one another, it was kind of an important dinner. And the next day he said, well, you never followed up. Moi?
There's no following up. We invited him, we told him the time and the date, he said yes, and it was just his excuse.
It's not for me to follow up, but anyway.
It was his excuse. He didn't want to come, and he didn't come, and
he
then
didn't come back.
Pinned it on us.
He didn't get invited back.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But
yes, it's a contract. It means something.
Yeah.
Your word means something.
You know, no ghosting allowed. No dropping out at the last minute because you don't feel like going. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's not. You just have to do it if you see except if you're sick.
Of course.
Especially nowadays, it's actually the COVID excuse is kind of brilliant because I'm feeling a little under the weather. Oh, then you better not come.
No, I take them seriously. People put a lot of work into a dinner or whatever event they've planned, and so
that's the thing you have to remember. It takes time and effort and money on the part of the hostess or host to put together a meal, and you can't just lightly blow it off.
No.
I mean, if the invitation is for just a light casual supper drop by, then there's more of a room for maneuver. The contract isn't as tight, but if it's dinner, there's no.
You got to show up.
You got to show up.
Anyway, I'd love to hear your comments below. And I also want to say that next month I'm going to come back and mention this woman, not talk about the book, but she gave me, well, she didn't give it to me. I read an interview with her that gave me one of the best pieces of advice I think I've ever had. And I'm going to tell you what that is. A great secret that will make all our lives better.
When is this?
Next month. Stay tuned. That's Maîtresse de Cérémonies, Françoise Dumas. Hopefully it will come out in English sometime.
Cliffhanger.
Woo!
Well done.